Hi guys, Mike here with SSP Firearms. Today we're going to be doing a field strip and cleaning of the Glock 22 40 caliber. This particular Glock is a law enforcement trade-in that, as some of you know from our blog, we've been doing some buying of law enforcement trade-ins, did some great makeovers on the MMPs that are available in our YouTube channel and then also on the blog as well. That's step-by-step kind of how to do that makeover. The Glock here was purchased for the same reason. We have a great makeover coming up on it. But in regards to the cleaning, again, we're always going to start with taking the magazine out, clearing the chamber, visually inspecting it, making sure there's no rounds in there. And the Glock, unlike a lot of the striker fire pistols, are very similar. The Glock's a little different in that, to break it down, you're going to pull back, you put your thumb on the back here, get your hand over the slide. Don't be careful of the ejection port. You don't want to get some skin in there, and then when you pull it back, you pinch your finger, your palm a little bit. But what you're going to do is go ahead and grip that, and then pull it back. And then these two takedown, there's one on each side here. You're going to push those downward and then let it come forward. Then it's just, if it doesn't slide all the way out, literally you just pull the trigger, the slide will come forward. You want to guide it off though, because sometimes when you pull that trigger and that slide's coming off the frame, it can come off pretty quick. Nothing to worry about, but if you were pointing it downward and didn't have the table this close, that slide could come tumbling off. So once you get that off, your next thing is to take the recoil spring, and you're going to push back on the back of the recoil spring here, and just push that forward, and then let it then release it, and it just comes right out. The barrel's pretty straightforward. You literally, if it's sitting, you can kind of lift it forward a tiny bit, then just pull up and slide out. There you go. You have the slide completed at that point. So the next thing to do, what I like to do, and guys, you can see a lot of videos about cleaning. The important things to remember are that the gun is properly cleaned and well lubricated. The steps you take and the products you use to achieve that are going to vary, and people have different tastes. And I've been cleaning guns for 25 years, my personal guns. And I still learn things about cleaning, and manufacturers still come out with great products all the time. So keep that in mind. You can always be learning. But what I like to do at this point is get some CLP spray and kind of get the frame, then the slide, the outside of the barrel, and the spring. And that's going to sit as I address some of the other areas. The next step I'll take, because the area that you're going to really be concentrating on, I mean, all of it, but one of the areas that can be more stubborn is the barrel. So I like to take some Bormax or any kind of bore cleaner, preferably a foam, because it takes a little longer to dissolve. So while it's sitting in the barrel, and then I'll wait till it comes out the front like that, and then literally I am just standing up that barrel so that it has time to soak in. And the reason I like the foam is for that reason. It's going to stay on the sides of the barrel while I'm addressing other areas of the firearm. My next step is, you could take a patch, you could take a t-shirt. There's a lot of different ways to wipe everything down, but I really like the wipes because... And I like the CLP as well, because it's still lubricating and it's still cleaning. Whereas if you use like a bore cleaner, you're going to get it clean, but it's not lubricating. And it's like I feel like anytime you can have redundancy in how you're cleaning, ultimately if you're lubing and cleaning at the same time, if you missed a small area when you go to do just the lubing, there's a good chance that it got hit with the CLP, and it's still going to have some lubrication. I mean, this is something you want to do. So I started with the slide, and literally I am wiping down every area of the slide until there's no clean spots on my CLP cloth, and then I'll grab another one. But you're looking to get every area of this slide you can. And if I frequently clean my guns, as a matter of fact, I just shot this yesterday, and if you're not frequently cleaning, then your cleaning can be a lot more involved. You can strip the slide, and then you can also strip the frame. And Glock makes it fairly simple to do that. For the sake of my cleaning, I am just doing the major components because the guns are already fairly clean, as you can see from that cloth. So the next thing I'm doing here is just making sure I did get everything on the slide, and that's coming back a lot cleaner now. And the one area I didn't get really well, and you won't get with just a wipe or a patch or a cloth, is inside the rails. So what I like to use is a pick or anything pointy you can take with your CLP or your patch or your cloth, and then just get it inside that rail real good. And you can see that's still, the rest of that slide's fairly clean, but that rail still has a decent amount of buildup in it. So I'll do that again with the clean side of the CLP until it comes back fairly clean, which that didn't. And I'll just hit it again. That's better. And the reason you're getting all these areas is because when you go to lubricate the gun, which is an important part, I mean, the parts are moving fast with a lot of force, and they need to be well lubricated. But the reason that you're cleaning it so well is because when you apply the lubricant, any residue is going to become a buildup with the lubrication, and then it also, even if it's lightly lubricated, which is recommended, you don't want to over lubricate. Because you will get more buildup. But if everything's well cleaned and then lubricated, you're going to see that the gun stays clean. It stays a lot cleaner and still functions effectively. A lot of times, and I think particularly with people that are new to firearms and new to cleaning their firearm, they feel like the more oil the better, it's going to be better lubed, it's going to function. But if you can increase your problems by over oiling and lubricating, because the gun will get dirty every time you fire it. And not only that, a lot of times you'll have oil dripping down your trigger while you're shooting, which is never going to be a good scenario to have. So when we get to the lubrication, right now I'm just wiping down every part, but when we get to the lubrication part, you're going to keep in mind that everything should be lightly lubricated. So I finished the frame, I finished the slide, now I've got the outside of the barrel. And guys, another thing to remember when you're cleaning, keep an eye out for shiny spots, areas that may be getting a little bit too much friction, or worse in some scenarios. If you've got heavy worn spots, then it's something you want to pay attention to. But if you've got some shiny spots, then it's really just a matter of if you want to pay special attention so that when you get to the lubricating side, you're you're properly lubricating the whole firearm, but in particular those shiny spots, you want to get a little heavier on the lube. So we've got everything cleaned up except for the inside of the barrel. With the inside of the barrel, you're going to take a 9mm bore brush, and then you're going to run that through the back of the barrel towards the front. And I said 9mm, guys, it's 40, and that's the bore brush I grabbed. But it is a 40, so we're going to go to a 40 bore brush, and then you're just running that through, loosening everything up. That does it, and then you want to rinse those brushes off when you're done, but you're not really cleaning at that point. What you're doing is prepping the barrel for the patches you're going to run through with bore cleaner. Because that's where the real cleaning takes place. That bore brush is particularly just to loosen up what's on the barrel. And you can see when I run this through, it's going to be pretty dirty. And actually that's not too bad. But you'll want to run that through a couple times until your patch is coming back fairly clean. And with the 9mm, you want to keep that to a single patch for sure. But with this 40, I can get away with 2 patches, and I'm going to get tighter to the barrel. It's going to clean a little better. So that's what I'm doing here. And actually, again, that's pretty clean already. I'll give it a one more, but you could run patches through that barrel for a great deal of time and a lot of times, and you're never going to get it completely clean. So you're not looking for completely clean. What you're looking for is no visible signs of any big deposits of carbon or residue, and you could see that one's coming back really clean. So we are good to go. I let that sit, and then I'll take a patch. Usually I have a rag handy, and for some reason I didn't grab it. But I'll use a couple patches to kind of get any extra bore cleaner or CLP down to a manageable amount, because what I'm going to do after this is lightly oil everything. And you can see that's staying fairly clean. I mean really clean actually. So provided you don't get any big powder spots, then you just continue wiping everything down to get it to a point where you can start to lube it. But if you do get some area that has real dark spot or a heavy buildup that shows up on your patch or whatever you're wiping down everything with, then take an extra minute and hit that again. A lot of times what I didn't do today, and that's because I do clean after every shooting, so I don't expect my guns to ever be, unless I put a lot of rounds through. Usually I'll put a couple hundred rounds through, but usually I'm bringing more than one firearm, so it's not a ton of shooting. I just like to keep my skills in a place where I'm getting to the range regularly. So what I'm doing right now is I put a few dots of oil, and I'm just lightly getting every part that I cleaned. I'm getting a light film of oil on. Now, and that's what I'm going to do to each section. And if you do get a little bit of buildup on there, or excuse me, a little bit of signs of powder, which this is really light, might as well just start with a fresh patch or whatever you're wiping everything down with. And you can see I'm putting 6 or 7 drops on a patch, and it'll put a shine, so you can see that you've got application. or you've touched every aspect of the metal. Now when I get to the rails, that's the only part that I'll actually apply oil to, and that's literally 1 drop of oil inside the rail. And I guess if it's possible to call a big drop or a small drop, you'd want to go as small as possible. And then with the barrel, the outside, I still want to wipe the outside down with a film of oil. And then if you have any shiny spots, because you know there's friction there, you'll be applying a little heavier oil. But you can see this one, there's really no shiny spots. Looks like everything's functioning good. And then we turn ourselves to the inside of the barrel, which we're going to apply a light film of oil to the inside of the barrel as well. And the reason for this, again, guys, is so that because there's a lot of velocity and a lot of force when you're shooting, you're keeping everything lubricated so it functions better. But also, if you end up having your gun stored for a period of time, you can't get to the range, life has you busy and you're just not going to the range, that light film of oil also is gonna preserve your metals and make sure there's no rusting. And now, if you knew for a fact you were going to be storing your gun for an extended period of time, your cleaning process would be different. And matter of fact, we'll do a video about that here in the not too distant future, because that is a different process. You want to store your guns differently if you know, let's say you're going, whatever the case is, you'll be gone for a period of time and you know those guns are going to sit for an extended period of time. You want to make sure that they're prepared and they're going to be well taken care of just sitting there. So guys, that's it. We are ready. Everything's lubed, everything's cleaned, and so now it just becomes doing the exact same process we did to break the firearm down. We're going to do the opposite to get it back together, which is getting the barrel into the slide, and then the recoil spring goes above the barrel. There is 2 sides to the recoil spring, and if you try to put it in backwards, you wouldn't be the first. So you could see that the best way to know a lot of times is look and see what you can see. That doesn't look like what your firearm looks like normally. Typically the color that's coated on that side is going to be the side that, and in the Glock, that's the case. So then that recoil spring goes back and then tucks into the lug of the barrel, and you're good to go. Guys, then it's a matter of guiding it back on the slide. So you're just lining those up, slowly pushing it back. And unlike some of your striker fires where the slide release lever would need to be down when you're pulling it back, you can see that the slide release buttons on each side are already down, but you'll notice when I pull the slide back, they pop back up, and then the slide locks in place. Now it's just a matter of dropping the slide release lever and letting the slide come back down. Once you've done that, the magazine, guys, doesn't need a ton of cleaning, but I always like to get the follower cleaned up because it does have residue. You can visually see it, so might as well clean it. But once you've done that, then I always like to put the magazine back in, rack the slide a few times, and then take it back out so you can work the slide. And you can feel that that's well lubricated and functioning well. And then the last step, I always like to take a silicone cloth because you can see the sheen and that the oil from my hands is all over the outside of that gun, which is fine, but you just want to get that cleaned up. Because the firearm should look clean and have a shine, but not that that wet look. And that silicone cloth. You want to, anytime you handle your firearms, guys, you're going to want to have a silicone cloth handy. It's always a good idea to be wiping down any fingerprints on any metal surfaces on your firearms before you put them away. So that's going to do it for the Glock 22 field stripping and cleaning. We have some great videos coming up. Kylie's doing another build, another AR-15 build. She did a great job on the last one. I encourage you guys to check it out. That should be coming out next week. Thank you for your time, guys.